Zlatan Ibrahimovic, former Galaxy legend. That's right, Galaxy legend in 2 years, tested positive for COVID-19. So prayers to COVID for a safe recovery. Thank you for downloading and listening to the West Box Score. We take a look at sports on the west side of the country, inside and outside the box score. My name is Alex Gonzalez, and here to do that with me is my co-host, my co-pilot, my co-captain, the Rajon Rondo to my Kyle Kuzma, Donald Paz. What's up, Donald?
Yo, what up, Alex? How you been, man?
I'm good, man. Still pumped from the highs and lows of this LA Lakers playoff basketball, which we're going to get into right now. First, though, I need to take a quick moment to ask you to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WestBoxScore, and also subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts downloaded. Donald, the NBA playoffs, full swing now. Western Conference Finals are happening. This is when the real playoffs start. You know, like the first round and second round, those are for the pretender playoff teams. You know what I mean? Like those aren't the real championship contenders. It's not till you get to that Western Conference Finals or Eastern Conference Finals where we separate the men from the boys, the pretenders from the contenders, the Clippers from the Lakers, the real teams that matter in LA. The Lakers are in the midst of a tough Western Conference Finals with the Denver Nuggets. And I mean, this series, man, for me has appeared differently. Like in game one, mind you, the Nuggets were coming off a 7-game series, man. The first two series have been 7-game series for them, right? But the Lakers appeared to be a far superior team. It's almost like maybe they will sweep this Denver team, right? And then game two, it kind of started the same. And then the Nuggets showed some resilience, like they've been showing the entire playoffs, and they held on for. But the Lakers held on for a win with that classic Lakers playoff magic. You know, San Kobe, he helped Anthony Davis hit a 3 to win the game at the buzzer, and it was written the way it was written as prophesized. The Lakers are doing. You know, that's what it kind of felt like. And then in game 3, man, the young Nuggets team proved that they are not to be underestimated. You know, they're relentless, and that impressive fourth quarter run, right, by the Lakers. Do you remember what that run was like? Like what the stats were? I would say for that fourth quarter at all.
On game 3, yeah, I believe it was a 10-2 run. In like the last 5 minutes, and it was one of those things where when you were watching, you're seeing it happen, and you're just hoping that this is it, that this is gonna be where the Lakers just turn it around, and then they would just win, and they would really be pulling one out. Versus the other time, well, the other time it is a pull, like they pulled one out to win it, but this time would have felt like even more so, given that they were trailing the whole game,
right?
And then they finally gave and did something, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough, and you could just tell those guys looked spent by the time that run was done, and the Nuggets just had one over them that game, so that was insane. But like you said, this Nuggets team is really relentless. They have amazing resilience, and you know, right now that we're taping this after game 4, I don't know about you, man, but I was not ever comfortable with that 10-point lead throughout the whole game. I kind of was just waiting to see when the Lakers were not going to, where they were going to just let up.
Yeah, because that 10-point lead does not feel like a 10-point lead against this Denver Nuggets team, because it's not that they go on the run, right? And they cut the deficit, but they also have a way of waiting out a team to go cold. Like the Lakers were getting open shots but missing them, and at that point the Nuggets start making their shots, and that 10-point lead is now an 8-point lead, a 6-point lead, a 4-point lead, and then they'll hit threes. It's like a 1-point lead. It's like, wait a minute, what happened to the 10-point lead we had not even a minute ago? Within a minute, it feels like. And I mean, they showed some great resilience in game 3, but game 4 here, as we were talking about now, the Lakers showed a little bit of resilience here in just keeping the 10-point lead, but having the Nuggets whittle it down to a 1-point lead. I think the closest was it a 1-point lead at one point in game 4 here.
Yeah, I think it was 86-87 at some point where you felt like, oh shoot, like this is it. Like the Lakers could just drop this game at this point. And yeah, that's the kind of game that the Nuggets play. Like you said, they definitely don't. They definitely know when to pick their spots to get hot, and they definitely do this thing, like you said, that where they let the other team wear out. And obviously, they're the younger team too. That's the crazy part. Jamal Murray's only 23 years old, so you compare that to the 35-year-old LeBron. Yeah, it's a huge gap in age. So of course, like just to be able to stand like till the fourth quarter, just being able to outlast somebody like that. Yeah, 23. I mean, any of us would have done that, right? At that age.
Right. Back when we were in our primes,
Yeah.
But now, us being a little bit older, and even more so in our prime, this is where wisdom overtakes athleticism. For me, is when the Lakers not ran away with it, but locked it down. When they put LeBron on for that lockdown defense on Jamal Murray, that really sealed the game for them here in Game 4. Because Murray... Unbelievable. Jamal Murray is as I think I remember at our day job earlier, Donald, you said he's a future All-Star.
Yeah.
And I think you have him pegged so right. Future All-Star Jamal Murray. I mean, I've never really seen him until this playoff series. So to me, it's his coming out party as far as he being a future NBA All-Star and NBA superstar, because he is phenomenal to watch. He had to play where it was LeBron was guarding him, and he changes midair for a layup, changes hands, and scores on LeBron James. Amazing. I believe Reggie Miller said Michael Jordan-esque on the commentary, and that's what it looked like. It was unbelievable.
He was very fearless against LeBron. I don't know if you saw, like, he just really went at it. I mean, a couple of layups he got was where he outsmarted LeBron's, like, blocking, but then LeBron came back and blocked a couple of them. But even the ones that LeBron blocked, I give Jamal credit for not being scared, for just going at it. He's like, whatever, if I get blocked, I get blocked. But yeah, it was impressive, man. That kid's amazing. I think definitely it's pretty obvious at this point he has a really bright future. Definitely a big contract coming to him, especially if this Denver team keeps showing up to the playoffs like that. It's really crazy. It's crazy to see what that kid could do. It makes me wish, like, this is what the Lakers need to do next. They need to get a point guard like that to complement Anthony Davis.
Or this exact point guard.
Exactly. I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility for the Lakers to just snatch a superstar from another team. So, we'll probably package like Caruso and a couple other guys for him.
I love Caruso, man, but this is definitely, the talent level is night and day between those two gentlemen there. But I love the way, this is why other teams fans hate us Laker fans, right? Because we're already talking about, oh, you have such a good player on your team. We want him. He's coming over here now.
We'll buy our way to the finals.
It's a buyer's market here. We want to buy your player. So the Lakers now have a 3-1 series lead.
Yep.
It's almost like the Nuggets have the Lakers right where they want them.
Yeah, right? Isn't that crazy? Like, we're in a 3-1 lead, and I don't feel comfortable about it still.
Nor should we, man. This team is resilient. I mean, every win, with the exception of Game 1, like I mentioned, with every win in this series, the other two, with the exception of Game 1, has been a hard-fought win for this Laker team. And you saw this at the end, toward the end of this game. Yeah. They're locking it down, but it's not easy. And since they're an older team, they're aware of how difficult it is going to be to get this fourth and final series win. So I don't see them having the issue with the other teams like the Clippers and the Utah Jazz in the first round. That issue of getting that closeout game, I don't see this being an issue at all for this older Lakers team. Overall, the LA Lakers franchise is 36-1 when leading the series 3-1. Did you know that, Donald?
Yes.
Do you know what that one loss was?
Man, I should know this.
Oh, man. I remember it vividly because this is me being the arrogant Laker fan. Of course, they're up 3-1. They're going to lock it down back in 2005, 2006, when the Lakers lost to the Phoenix Suns.
Oh,
a Kobe Bryant-led Lakers team lost to the Steve Nash Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean... Yeah. It's not. I mean, one loss out of 37 tries is impressive overall as a franchise, right? But in now modern times, the 2020 season, this Nuggets team doesn't die when they're against the wall. So, I mean, this is where they're dangerous.
Yep. I think a couple of things I saw in common was Nikola Jokic being in foul trouble, which is a thing that happened in Game 1. So it's just one of those things where like the Lakers just have to kind of repeat that pattern. And I know it's a tough ask to do it in a 7-game series because eventually the other team knows how to figure out like not to have that happen. Maybe just putting out like Plumlee or someone like that on AD or someone like, that was going to basically take the fouls for Jokic. So it's crazy, but yeah, like I obviously, like you said, Denver has not, they've been here before 3-1. But I do have confidence that this Lakers team has the firepower and the ability and the skill to close it out. I would love for them to close it out on Saturday so that way next week we could talk about the finals confidently. But
right.
We'll see what happens on Saturday. Hopefully we're not talking about like a Game 7 next week.
Don't say it, Donald. I hope this series does not go to a Game 7 because obviously Game 7, anything can happen, right? All bets are off, the old cliche. True. But I mean, as we're taping this now right after Game 4 Thursday evening, I mean, I need to see what physical condition Anthony Davis is in when he went down grabbing his ankle. Couldn't really tell in the replay. I mean, I missed the replay when they showed it, but it looked like to me initially that he was pulling a Neymar and he was faking the injury for a foul. But did you get a good look at the replay to see where he landed?
I mean, the foot which is his left leg, actually just landed on the floor. It didn't touch the player at all. I forgot who was guarding him. I don't know if it was Millsap or Grant. Someone was. I forgot who was guarding him, but he didn't touch that. That leg did not touch. It just went straight down to the floor. So it just seems like he really just hurt himself. I don't know if you saw, but he didn't look like he was running the same way afterwards. It almost felt like it affected him.
The rest of the game.
Yeah, the rest of the game. And luckily, the Lakers, I guess, they had already enough of a lead to just, close it out. But it is kind of concerning, like you said. I wonder if tomorrow, if he'll feel good to play again on Saturday, because that's kind of what's going to happen. You only get one day off. So
right.
That's the tough part about these playoffs,
Well, it's going to be the ice bucket challenge for Anthony Davis's ankle all the rest of this night and tomorrow, and get rested for Saturday. And hopefully they will punch the ticket, close it out. But Saturday is what we're looking at. That's going to be the final game of the series. We're hoping the Lakers get it done in 5. I'm thinking back to our predictions, Donald. I think Sonny said wanted it to get done in Game 6, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And Donald, what did you pick as your prediction?
I said, Sonny said Lakers in 5. I said Lakers in 6.
And I was saying 7, which I hope I'm so wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to be right here. So
I'm hoping Sonny's right too, man, because I would love for them to just wrap it up in Saturday, and then that way it just feels good to know that this is behind us now. But man. it is nerve-wracking, dude. Like I can't say I'm too confident. It's very nervous. Like we talked in the beginning, that lead, it still didn't feel comfortable. I feel like it's not comfortable until it's a blowout with this team, for sure.
Moving on to baseball now, the final series of the 2020 regular season is getting kicked off between the Dodgers and the Angels. The Dodgers have clinched their 8th straight division title. How has this season fared for the Angels, Donald?
The season overall hasn't been too kind to the Angels. They've currently they're currently in 3rd place right now in the AL West. They're 3.5 games behind the wild card spot. I would say they're mathematically eliminated. They haven't been named eliminated, in terms of standings. A lot of the AL teams have been eliminated. The only 2 that are standing that have been eliminated are the Anaheim Angels and the Seattle Mariners. But currently right now the Angels are 3.5 games behind the wild card. They've had a pretty impressive run in terms of the bats. It truly shows that they can hit the ball. I think for the most part, the big takeaway from me with the Angels has just been their pitching. And I think that for the most part, it being Joe Maddon's first season, I think that the batting's really impressive. But yeah, definitely they got to address the pitching coming next season.
Definitely. They won't be invited to the MLB playoff bubble that's going to be happening. You know, they're going to be playing at neutral sites. The AL is going to be playing at Dodger Stadium and Petco Park, 2 National League ballparks, so that why not have the American League play there? I find that odd.
That is odd.
And then that's so weird. And then the National League is going to play in American League ballparks in Houston, in Minute Maid Park in Houston, and Globe Life Field, where the Texas Rangers play, and that's also going to host the World Series. So Rob Manfred is hoping to have fans for that World Series and NLCS, actually. He said, quote, "We are pressing ahead to have fans in Texas. Ticket sales are expected to be announced soon." He says, quote, "One of the most important things to our game is the presence of fans. Starting down the path of having fans in stadiums and in safe and risk-free environments is very, very important to our game." I don't know how you could have a risk-free environment, though. Donald, what do you make of that? Would you be willing to go to Texas to see a World Series game?
For the World Series, if the Dodgers are in it, yes. It does feel weird with all this talk about safety precautions. I mean, to me, my whole takeaway with the safety precautions as of late with everything going on in the country, it's been interesting seeing how, I guess you could say, more conservative states like Texas are trying to do the whole, we're going to reopen because we're not going to actually let this whole thing get to us and we need to like get back on track and all that. But then it's like they're also putting restrictions to the things that they're doing. So then it's like, so of course you're aware that the virus is there, for as much as you're trying to preach like this virus is nothing to you or whatever whatever narrative you want to drive with it. And it does feel confusing to me, but I do get that, you know, Manfred's trying to do something obviously completely different than what the NBA is doing. And I don't know. I just feel like if you're going to do a bubble, just do a bubble and let the teams play themselves out and don't worry about whether fans are there or not. Like that shouldn't be a thing to kind of include. I don't know, but I get what they're trying to do. He's trying to one-up it like, oh, look, we're not like the NBA that's overly liberal, and of course they're not going to want to allow fans. We're going to try to do something where we meet people halfway, and, you know, we're still going to try to win over maybe more conservative-minded people. But I don't know. I think that's ridiculous to me, whether it's left or right. I think to me the sport is the sport, and you should just want to play, and you should just be more caring that the teams and that the players are comfortable being in one location for that long of a time. You already saw it with the NBA players coming out saying that this is a long time to be inside hotels and restricted to outside stuff. So, I mean, I would think that would be the language you would want to use when it comes to announcing something like this. Like, we want to make sure that the players are taken care of. But I get it. Like, he's trying to come off like he's running for re-election or something, and it's ridiculous.
Donald, you make a good point. That's true. There's no such thing as a risk-free environment. It almost feels like Rob Manfred is just trying to recoup some revenue for the league as a whole when it comes down to just an entire revenue issue for the league, which I understand, but you're going to put your fans at risk. But if fans are willing to take that risk, more power to them. I mean, it's all about having the options and assuming your own risk, but don't call it a risk-free environment when it's not, Rob Manfred. That's why we still hate you. So moving on now to the NFL. The NFL week 2 was great for one LA team. The Rams took out the Eagles 37-17. Goff was 14 for 14 on passing at one point in the second quarter. He ended up going 20 for 27, 267 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, a 142 passer rating. That was incredible to see Goff finally look like the number one quarterback that the Rams need. I mean, the offense, the running was clicking with Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown, platooning the running game. And but the player of the game for me was Tyler Higbee with 5 receptions, 54 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Man, he looked incredible.
Yeah,
Donald, how did your LA Chargers of Inglewood look to you?
I mean, considering they were playing the Super Bowl champions, I think they hung on really well. I wouldn't say they looked like super amazing or that like theirs is a playoff caliber team. I feel the Rams do look like a playoff caliber team. They look like that Rams team from the first year Sean McVay took over. But the Chargers, to me, just look like a team that I feel like should just have fun and try to just figure out, like, how they're going to move forward with, especially with Justin Herbert being that this was his debut. This was his first game back. So I was really impressed with Justin Herbert. He made 22 completion passes for 33 attempts, which totaled to 311 yards. He made one of the throws was a touchdown, and he also actually did a rushing touchdown. He ran for a touchdown himself. I was listening to the broadcasters on CBS, Tony Romo, and they were saying that in a weird way, like he made history by rushing and throwing a touchdown in the first half at SoFi, because now that's something they can say, he holds a record for at that stadium, given that it's the first, it's a debut. So definitely that was really impressive. The running back duo of Austin Eckler and Joshua Kelly was pretty impressive for the most part. They combined for 157 yards together. Kelly out-touched Eckler 23 touches to 16, but Eckler had more yardage per carry at 5.8 yards compared to Kelly's 2.8 yards. If it wasn't for the defense, I would say this Chargers team probably would have lost by a lot. But the Chargers defense definitely kept them in it. They definitely worked on Patrick Mahomes. They really contained him, which is the biggest thing. It's just making sure Mahomes doesn't have the kind of game that he's used to having. And they really pressured him really well. I know Joey Bosa recorded his first sack on Patrick Mahomes. That was really big for him. And I think the defense did what they could in the first three quarters. Obviously, by the fourth quarter and in overtime, they were gassed. And I think the Chargers had an opportunity to steal it. But seeing how that fourth quarter played out with them running against the clock, I kind of feel like it was just a race against time. And it was just a matter of time before Mahomes did what Mahomes does and just kind of close it out. And that's pretty much the game of the Chargers and the Chiefs. And I think that's going to be that series for a couple years to come with Mahomes behind center.
Yeah, the Chiefs look very scary on the field, man. I was rooting for your Chargers there to pull off the upset there, especially in that first half. They looked really good. But second half, Mahomes just came through and found ways to make adjustments. And I was especially rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs because I have it in for their fan base. Because we go back to fans being allowed into the stadiums, may not necessarily be a good thing, because the Chiefs fans, they were in attendance on opening night. I got a big gripe with you guys. I understand this whole BLM thing is political at times, but for you to boo during a moment of silence, that is very poor taste, man. Even if you don't agree with it, show a little bit of respect for some lives being lost out there. Even if you think criminals are bad, I get it. But people are dead, and you got to give a moment of silence for something, man. Even if you don't agree with it, dude. So disrespectful.
Exactly.
So honestly, I'm just against the Kansas City Chiefs strictly for their fan base now. So every time I see the Chiefs on the field, I'm rooting against you guys because your fan base is terrible, man. Disrespectful. I don't like it. I don't like that kind of fan base, man. I thought Philly fans were bad when they booed Santa Claus. Kansas City, man, you take the title now as being the worst fan base in all of sports.
Yeah, no, I feel you, dude. It was really bad, and imagine if this was like a moment of silence for all the people that passed away for COVID, like,
yeah,
and getting that kind of a reaction, that'd be really bad. And it's really ridiculous how they pick their spots in terms of what they feel they want to kind of go against and what they don't, and the whole flag situation and the kneeling and everything. Like, we already know, why it's being done. So I'm with you on that. Like, it feels almost petty at this point if you're going to go against it. Just understand it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, if it was up to the players, they probably would not want the national anthem to happen just so that they don't have to take a knee, because then that way they don't have to go through that thought process. But the fact of the matter is that the national anthem's going to play and they're going to take a knee in protest. And the thing is that, like, you should, as a fan, should just expect that to happen at this point. So it's ridiculous. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think there should even be the national anthem being played at these games anymore. I mean, it's very
It's triggering
politicized.
now.
Yeah, because people just want to boo athletes who kneel, and then if you're not standing for it, you're disrespectful and unpatriotic. But to me, the most patriotic thing is to challenge authority and right wrongs. Like, that's the whole point of this country. And people have lost sight of that now. Like, you have to love the country for what it is.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You don't understand. This country is flawed. I mean, it is built from flaws, and it's going to constantly try to right itself and make adjustments. That's what the whole Constitution's amendments are. And people are losing sight of that, and with the whole love it or leave it argument, and I just don't understand that whatsoever. We got to move on now because there's also MLS stuff that's going on. Phase 2 is going on. And honestly, I don't know what Galaxy we're seeing. This team is consistently inconsistent. I mean, the prime example of it is the Galaxy went from not conceding a goal for 220 minutes. You remember that, Donald? Those were good times. They had a shutout. They had a shutout win over LAFC and then a scoreless draw against San Jose. You know, two big decisions for them. And then now they've gone to not scoring a goal in the last 261 minutes. You know, that started back in that scoreless draw against San Jose, and now back-to-back 2-0 losses against Colorado and now Real Salt Lake. Donald, what is going on with this scoreless streak?
Man, I don't know. It just feels like you have a pretty healthy squad. So we can't say that it's, you know, certain key players are out that we need. You know, this is not like a couple seasons ago with Alessandrini out, or like I think it was last season, 2 seasons ago. And you can say, well, Alessandrini's out, so obviously this affects our attacking. You have a very healthy squad, but it just feels like for whatever reason in this phase 2, you're not clicking. It almost feels like when you play a video game and you're in level 2, and yes, it's going to be harder, but this isn't like that. Like, this isn't like a video game where they all of a sudden MLS decided to schedule harder opponents. They just decided to schedule other opponents that were not in the same region as you are, because it would just be nice to play other teams that are not just all in the West Coast. And it's just ridiculous to see how they're just falling flat. They look slow in that game against Real Salt Lake. It just felt like they were just hanging around. And I don't know what to pinpoint it at. You know, I don't know if it's just the fact that like Chicharito is still trying to be integrated in this lineup. Like, he's still trying to figure out like how to flow with everybody, or is it just the rest of the team not clicking together? Because I don't know, maybe they're just out of it now at this point. Maybe they're just maybe it is like a not like a jet lag, but it's something where like now that they have to travel, it's affecting their performance. And it just feels bad. It just looks bad, especially because they really came out the gate after being, you know, embarrassed at that Orlando bubble, the tournament they had over there. It just felt like they really came back with a vengeance, and it was crazy to see that. It was like, whoa, okay, like this is a team that's playoff, you know, that they're a playoff contender. And then now it just looks like they're back into the MLS's back tournament Galaxy, which is just this flat. They don't look like they really want to do it. And then at the same time, they look like they're trying their best. But it's not enough. It's really not enough. They should have won that RSL game. RSL wasn't really doing anything great either. Like, they had a very flat first half. The second half, obviously, if you watch the game, Bingham was the one that caused the penalty. And then the second goal was just a nice cross where no Galaxy defender was there to challenge anything. And then it just went in. And it was just really bad to see that. And I don't know what to say right now in terms of like how much time do you think we should give this current starting lineup before we start thinking about what to retool. It feels like a short season, and I know there's an argument for maybe Chicharito still needing to get used to how everyone else plays with the forwards, and that the defense is the defense, like they're going to do what they can, but the thing is we also need to score goals to win. And I don't know how much time you give like this current squad in terms of how many games before you feel they should get clicking. But for the most part, it doesn't look like there's a lot of games left. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the problem isn't so much the defense. I mean, only conceding 2 goals in the last 2 games. I mean, yeah, that's not ideal, but it's also not terrible. I mean, that shows you the problem isn't so much with the defense, but more with the offense being shut out in these last 261 minutes. I mean, to me, it always starts in the midfield. And the fact that Yona is back kind of in these last 2 games, owning the second half, but it's not like he comes on and sparks anything. And then in this RSL game, he starts it and didn't get anything sparked there either. And I think you mentioned they looked tired. He and Chicha looked tired.
Yeah.
Toward halftime. So, yeah, so they're obviously not in starter shape yet. So I mean, obviously you want them to start because they are starter caliber players, but they're not healthy. They're not starter fit yet. So definitely you have to go back to the lineups that got you better results in the beginning. With I would prefer you have believe it or not, even Ethan Zubak start the game.
Yeah.
I really think they got to give Dunbar some reps in there.
Yeah.
The fact that they haven't is very sad. I mean, you got to give this young guy, this young kid. What is he? 17 years old.
17, yeah.
Yeah, they got to get him some reps in here to give him some minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, especially it's not clicking right now. You got to throw everything at the wall now and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Because it's not working right now. The fact you haven't scored in 261 minutes, the offensive plan is not working right now. You have 5 subs, use them. Let Dunbar start the game. And then bring in Zubak maybe toward the end of the first half even. And then you bring in Chicharito to end the game. If that's your guy, that's going to have to be your guy. Look, we're stuck with Chicharito for the rest of this year, at least. I mean, everybody's calling for Chicharito's head at this point. I mean, almost me included. I would prefer they got somebody else. But the fact is, this is the team we have. This is our striker at this point. So we need to go with him. And he needs to get reps in as well, but he's not fit. So you got to get him in there in the second half, toward the end. That's my idea, at least.
Real quick, I just wanted to mention, for those that don't follow like the Galaxy fanmanship that there is on the internet, like what Alex was saying is true. Like I want to say like a little, maybe half of the fan base is asking for his head, and then there's the other fan half that's a little bit more on the apologist side, and they're like, you have to give him like more time because he's still coming back from injury. And I don't know what side to choose, because a part of me I feel like is a little bit of both, like a little bit of both.
You can't ride the fence; you got to pick a side.
Yeah, so that's what's happening on like Galaxy Reddit and all this stuff. It's crazy.
Are you Chicha or anti-Chicha? Pick your side.
Yeah,
I mean, are you drinking the Bud Light seltzer or not?
One guy said, you got to give him like 5 games. And I'm like, well, I kind of feel like that's the rest of the season.
Give him 5 years. He'll figure it out. There's also another team that plays in LA, LAFC. Donald, what are they looking like?
Oh, well, LAFC, they played at the same time, I believe, that the Galaxy played. But they had a very different result than the Galaxy did by a long shot.
Slightly.
And yeah, I feel like they just ran up the scoreboard on Vancouver Wednesday night. They were up 5-0 at half. So really, it felt like the game was over by halftime. They were just firing on all cylinders offensively. I mean, Bradley Wright Phillips, at 35 years old, had really 2 impressive goals. He almost had a hat trick. There was one that went in that looked like it might have been him that touched it, but it wasn't him. It was the defender that touched it. So it ended up becoming an own goal, not because that would have been his hat trick goal. So that was happening. And what's crazy about that own goal is that it happened in the 14th minute, and that was the 4th goal to be made. So 4 goals in 15 minutes of play is really wild to see in what was that match. But basically, they put the game away really early. And it was just an impressive show by LAFC on the attacking end. Rossi did his thing. They just did a lot of good set pieces. They really did their set pieces were really impressive. So credit to LAFC. They definitely did a number on Vancouver. And right now they're currently sitting at 6th place in the West in the playoff picture.
That's good, man. LAFC, listen, you're supposed to be a contender, not just for the supporter shield, but for the cup. So live up to your hype and your expectations. I'm happy for you guys. Believe it or not, I am happy for you guys. Kind of. Moving on now. UFC on ESPN Plus last weekend had this pay-per-view feel because it was main evented by former welterweight champion Tyron Woodley, and he took on Colby, working himself into a shoot. Covington wins in the 5th round by TKO. What did you make of that fight, Donald?
Covington was really impressive, obviously. Outside of the antics, which is like the gimmick that he has, which translates to like for those that don't like watch any sort of fighting, it's like wrestling. It's a wrestling term. It's like you come up with this character, but in UFC these are real guys. Like these guys are really hitting each other, and it's a real thing. And it feels like he has this character down, this like kind of very right wing, pro-Trump thing that he's going with. And obviously he knows it works because
he's a MAGA man.
The MAGA man, yeah. Because like majority of sports, most people tend to lean left. That's just kind of what it is. In terms of like the athletes, I know the fan base could be different. It could be 50-50, but for the most part, it feels like most athletes tend to lean left. And the thing is, I don't know if he's thinking of this when he does this character, but it almost feels like he's thinking of it as like, well, I do play in this league or like this promotion where a lot of our guys are not from America. They come from different parts of the country. So let me just kind of continually piss them off because they probably do hate the president already to begin with. So let me just add on to that, and it'll piss them off. And then when I fight them, I'll beat them, and they'll look even worse because like I kind of like not only beat them outside the ring with my antics, but I beat them in not the ring, the octagon. What am I thinking? I'm thinking about boxing. No,
because he's such a character.
Yeah, exactly. Or wrestling.
He's such a gimmick. You were thinking the wrestling ring, yeah. Yeah,
but he's really impressive. I mean, by the 4th round, he pretty much looked like it was done. And I was really impressed that the other guy came back on the 5th round and just wanted to continue Woodley, fighting. Yeah, and he just, he basically it was pretty much over. Like if you watch the match, you would have seen that it was you could have seen Covington was really in control, and definitely was like a master class of if you were an aspiring UFC fighter, like what you have to do in terms of like playing the long game and really taking advantage of all 5 rounds. So really impressed.
Yeah, for the casual fan, you're probably seeing this like, what the heck? He's just getting in a couple shots and now clinching him in the headlock or putting him up against the cage. But yes, like to your point, Donald, it's very strategic in what he's doing, as not to get hit by Woodley and not to take any abuse and almost rest and also try to just score points to the judges' scorecards and keep himself out of danger mainly. So it's smart fighting. Now, obviously, like Kamaru Usman against Masvidal when he won by toe stompage. It's not the most exciting fight to watch, but it's the smart fight to have or to fight against.
Exactly.
In your favor, to fight for in your favor rather, because you're going to keep yourself safe and also win on points and also get strikes and just fight the smart fight. So Covington, smart in the sense where he's fighting smart, and smart in the sense where he's getting you to hate him with his hijinks and maybe love him if you're into that sort of thing. So Covington, smart fighter all around. And think about him what you will, but it's smart business also. The co-main event for this was Donald Cowboy Cerrone taking on Nico Price. Majority draw here. One judge had it for Cowboy. Seeing this fight, I think Cowboy needs to really think about hanging it up, man. It's he's a lot slower now. He needs to either retire or maybe even he's probably not at UFC caliber to me anymore in seeing this fight. He should maybe think about going to Bellator or not where the level of fights aren't as high or high caliber, where he could get that all-elusive title that he deserves, man. He's a journeyman fighter at this point. He's did a lot for the game, but he's never won that championship, and he does deserve to go out his career with one title belt, and Bellator may be the place to do it. Also, Johnny Walker, TKO first round win. He got the better of an exchange between Ryan Spawn. There was a couple of tough shots. At one point they hit each other. They clocked each other. Dang. Rocky Apollo Creed style, man. That was nice. That was nice to see.
Seen that.
That was we're checking out on the ESPN Plus.
I gotta watch that one on the replay now.
You got it, man. Dude, they hit each other Apollo Creed Rocky style. And then Johnny Walker goes on top of Ryan Spahn and just hammer fists him into the TKO stoppage. So it was exciting to check out. Spoiler alert, Donald, but you're gonna check it out. It's still cool to see. And then Mackenzie Dern gets her second straight first round submission. She's a black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist, so we knew we were going to get that once she made her way to the UFC. Her one and only loss was to Amanda Ribas, who is a little firecracker herself, man. So that division heating up again. Look out. So this weekend, you got to check out the NFL. The Rams, my LA Rams, are taking on the Buffalo Bills Mafia in Buffalo. Both teams undefeated. You got to check that out, 10 a.m. on Fox. Who are your Chargers taking on, Donald?
Well, my beloved LA Chargers are taking on the Carolina Panthers, hoping for another win. Carolina Panthers are currently 0-2. I believe Christian McCaffrey, they're saving grace on that team. I believe he's hurt. I think he got hurt last weekend. I think he was one of those on the list of injury, that injury weekend that we currently had in the NFL. But they are playing on Sunday as well at 1:05 p.m. on CBS.
That injury weekend you speak of, it's I think the worst bug that the team that got hit worst by the injury bug are Sonny's beloved San Francisco 49ers, right?
Yeah, that's 10 players. I believe 5 this weekend and then 5 after the first game. I believe that was the count. I think they're out 10 guys that are all starters too, including Jimmy Garoppolo, which I think is probably the one that everyone remembers in terms of like that's the one people feel the most. I feel more for Nick Bosa, because he's so good at at what he does. I feel like they need it. They definitely need him to do what he does with eating quarterbacks every time he's on the field. But Jimmy Garoppolo too is a blow. Obviously, Nick Mullins is going to step in as a backup, and I think Nick Mullins is pretty good. I know that he's not like starter caliber, but I think he can hold his own. I think Shanahan has something with him that I think is special. So we'll see what happens with the Niners, though. It comes down to their receiving core and just whoever they have running. So, yeah.
Yeah, they're taking on the New York Football Giants on Sunday, 10 a.m., also on Fox. Also, and MLS.
That one turf field that they're scared to go back because it's scary. That's what created all those injuries, man.
You got to be careful on the turf, man.
Play back to back on the same field that messed up your players.
That's right. They were in the same field, MetLife Stadium, right, when they played the Jets, and now they're going right back to play the Giants. Oh, man.
The Giants.
Careful, guys. Be careful out there. Nobody. I hate to see injuries on any team, man. You don't because when you play a team, you want them and you want to beat them at full caliber. So I'm sure even the Giants don't want to see a 49ers team that's injury ridden, even though it's going to make it an easier day for them. But if they do beat the 49ers, they want to say they beat the best 49er team they put out there. So it's just competitive nature, right, guys? So be safe out there. MLS also is going on this weekend. The defending MLS champion Seattle Sounders are coming down to Dignity House Sports Park to take on our LA Galaxy Sunday night, 7:30 on Spectrum Sportsnet. LAFC is taking on the San Jose Earthquakes. That's going to be maybe on YouTube TV if you have that, but also on the Unimas Overflow channel Sunday, also at 7:30. Donald, why do they always put the LAFC and LA Galaxy games on at the exact same time?
I don't know if it's a ratings thing. Is it one of those things like when you're at the final game of the season and you don't want to know what the result is of the other team, so you know if you need to like play hard or not? I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not working for the Galaxy because they already lost 2 in a row.
So that's why the Galaxy are losing these last 3 games. It's not because the play on the field. It's because where their games are being televised. I like it. I'm going to go with that, Donald. Also, UFC is going to have a pay-per-view this weekend on ESPN Plus. You got to pay for this one, though. 2 title fights. Middleweight title fight and a light heavyweight title fight between the last stylebender Israel Adesanya and Paul Costa, both undefeated. Somebody's O has got to go. And then the light heavyweight title fight between Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz, the vacant title left by John Jones. I still think that Dominic Reyes is the rightful champion. He beat John Jones in that fight, and I don't care what you tell me, anybody out there. That title belongs to Dominic Reyes, and he's taking it officially this Saturday, tomorrow. Check it out. If you're going to pay the $65 or just wait for the reviews, we'll tell you who wins next week.
Yeah.
Before we go, some sad news. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, former Galaxy legend. That's right, Galaxy legend in 2 years, tested positive for COVID-19. So prayers to COVID for a safe recovery. You get that joke if you know Zlatan, because Zlatan, you're welcome, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Remember that when he put the ad out when he made the announcement to the Galaxy? The LA Times.
Classic.
Los Angeles, welcome to Zlatan.
Yeah. That was fun.
See, this is where I could say this is where Colby needs to take lessons from. You got to ride that character gimmick in a smart way. Like, don't be polarizing. If you're going to build the audience, be funny about your antics. You know what I mean? Like, Zlatan is endearing because he's just like arrogant about his skill. And you're going to laugh at him when he loses, like, oh, why didn't you, when LAFC beat the Galaxy in the playoff game, and, that's their time to gloat against Zlatan. But, I mean, when you're just polarizing for the sake of being polarizing and heelish, you're going to get a lot of you're going to get some shoot hate, not some work hate.
Yeah.
Wrestling reference, that you're going to get some real hate, not just, play hate.
Exactly. And in other LA news for us here, Candace Parker actually has won the Defensive Player of the Year in the WNBA bubble. She added one more trophy to her collection. She was named Defensive Player of the Year. And like the NBA, the WNBA played this season in a bubble in Bradenton, Florida at the IMG Academy, just to make sure no one got coronavirus. And Candace Parker gave a lot of credit to that because, she said that made a big difference in how, she took on the season.
It was amazing to literally wake up, eat breakfast, and 5 minutes I'm at the gym, as opposed to, how LA traffic is. You're in traffic for almost an hour. We weren't flying. So the time that I would use normally to commute, I just used to take care of my body.
So the LA Sparks finished third this season. They were eliminated in the second round of the playoffs against the Connecticut Sun. I saw spots of the game here and there. They looked really slow in the beginning, the first quarter, and then towards the end, they looked like a blowout. So it just felt like it caught up to them. It seems like a lot of their good players got hurt or they're a little banged up. So it was just kind of like just bad luck and that bad timing, really. But, as for Candace Parker, I mean, she's had an impressive resume. I believe she's in her 13th season as a LA Sparks. She's already won a WNBA championship, WNBA Finals MVP, 2 regular season MVPs, and she won Rookie of the Year. So big ups to Candace Parker. Congrats. And if you're listening to this, congratulations.
Congrats to Candace Parker and the LA Sparks on a season that didn't go their way, but still doing the damn thing. I always appreciate the hard work those women do in the WNBA, not just on the court, but their activism for social justice too, man. We got to give up big ups to those women. So that's going to wrap it up for us this week. Next week, we'll cover more of all this sports goodness from the NBA playoff bubble, the soon-to-be MLB playoff bubble, and the NFL and the MLS empty-ish stadium seasons. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WestBoxScore. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts downloaded. See ya.
Later.